Welcome, everyone. This is Anne Marie of The Art of Healing, and I have finally secured an interview with someone that I've been wanting to meet for many years now. And I'm really excited to interview her for this next installment of Life in the Metaphysical. My guest today is Christina Heiniger. Christina is a channeler of a collective of angelic beings known as the Lotus Crew. And she and I kind of came up in the ranks together, so to speak, for at least 4 years now. And we've been channeling and putting things out there, and I've never met her in person. So this is about as in person as it's going to get right now, but I'm very excited for this. And so without further ado, I welcome to Life in the Metaphysical, Christina Heiniger. It is so cool to finally meet you.
I know, I love it.
And you're adorable. Look, you got your hair cut. You look fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I had a super busy day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of need to settle. Maybe I'll grab one of my codes. I've got one I sit on. I've got a code I sit on and a code I hold in my lap.
Well, show them to us.
This is the one I sit on.
Okay.
And this is the one I hold in my lap. This is my 2020 code.
Oh, wow. What does it do for you?
I think a lot of it I probably don't even know. I probably can't fathom, but they definitely help me ground.
Yeah.
Like, I use them first thing in the morning, and if I don't use them, I can tell, And they've definitely helped me to meditate, because I'm not a super great meditator. Like, okay. I don't really like it.
Uh-huh.
But they help me settle so that I can sit there for 10 minutes and just do a little meditation in the morning. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, first of all, I'm so glad to finally meet you. I mean, you and I have been walking this walk for what, 3.5, 4 years now?
I know. I think it's about 4 years. Yeah.
4 years. And you were channeling, I think, before I started channeling.
I think right before,
yeah.
Like May 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I started channeling, like verbally channeling, though I think I was channeling in many other ways for a long time before that.
Mm-hmm.
But May of 2018 is when my guides came through verbally.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start?
June.
Yeah. See,
it's not like exactly around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us through right around that time.
Exactly. So you and I have so much in common. So just like catch me up and catch whoever is viewing this up. What brought you to where you are right now? Like, what is your story?
Well, I'm an artist and always have been. I had a very long chronic illness and chronic pain journey, and kind of everything fell apart for me shortly after the cosmic moment in 2012. So my birthday of January 2013 was the last day I drove my car, but I've just started driving again, so that's exciting. Like, I'm getting so much better, but my life really fell apart. Like, I split up with my partner of 12 years in October of 2012. I had a gallery. I used to organize events. I had been having chronic pain for a very long time, but it was like everything just, it got to the point where I couldn't work. And that really hit in January of 2013, the end of January. So looking back on it, it's been an incredibly enlightening experience to go through that, because I completely dropped out of mainstream life. And of course, kicking and screaming, you know, but now when I look at it and I look at what people are going through in this time that we're in, I want to say it's like I was prepared for this, but no, it's not like I was prepared for this.
Right.
Because I went through everything that everyone's going through now. I just went through it 7 years before everybody else and worked through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like none of this has, like, I'm so well prepared, you know. I built a a house with non-toxic building materials that I moved in a little over a year ago. Worked with my builder on it. So I've got a great place. I work at home. I've been working at home for a very long time. I transitioned my business online ages ago, you know, because I couldn't go out and have my shop anymore. I couldn't organize arts events anymore. So it's like everything that's going on right now for me, it's just kind of like meh, you know. I get what you're all going through, but it doesn't really affect me that much. Even like my hair, you know, you said, oh, you got your hair cut. I've been getting my hair cut at home for like 7 years, you know, so it's like no big deal. I got that one set up. So it's so interesting how I'm like out of sync with the collective, because now I'm starting to get out more. Like I'm starting to drive again. Drove myself to the dentist this morning. Went over to Bar Harbor where my dentist is, Bar Harbor, Maine. I live really close to there. And I was walking around and I'm like out and about in a way I wouldn't have been 2 years ago. You know, all those from 8 years ago to 2 years ago, or even a year ago, maybe. And there's not that many people out here and they're all wearing masks, you know? So it was like, oh, I guess I'm just always going to be like a few years ahead of everybody. So if you want to know what's coming, just look at me, and I would say it's good, because my life has improved so much, but I had to work through it was like one dark night of the soul after another, you know? I mean, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I do. And you know, I was thinking October of 2012. Guess when my marriage fell apart? September of 2012. So everything happened on that magical year or something like that, you know.
And then 2013, oh, what a year 2013 was, right? I mean, people complain about 2020. I think 2013 was my 2020, because I mean, I just remember thinking, what else can happen, you know? And then more stuff happened over the next like 5 or 6 years. 27 also really hard, but now I see that there's always a larger plan. And if we can kind of do what we need to do, flow instead of force, as they say, things have a way of falling into place. And then you start going, oh, that happened. Oh, that's why that happened, you know.
It's very true. And now when we were first, you know, starting to be online friends and all that, you were going through the throes of this very serious illness. And so it seems like you have worked through it, healed through it. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. So I have had chronic pain. I've dealt with that since I was 28. I'm 52 now. And it got progressively worse. Eventually in 2013, I ended up with a chronic Lyme diagnosis and got neurological symptoms started to happen at that point. I mean, just a lot of weird stuff. So that I don't want to go into all the symptoms, you know, kind of I just don't want to go into all of that.
Yeah, no,
like
you
we
don't
could spend
need
the whole, but there were a lot.
Mhm.
And I basically couldn't do a lot of normal things. I couldn't drive. I couldn't work full time. I definitely couldn't even think about working out of the house. Fortunately, I'm an artist, so I could get really creative with still working. And then there was a lot of conflict in my family. There were things I had to work through. There were things that were revealed to me. It was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of trauma. So I was really praying. I mean, I had ended up on Valium and Ativan for a little while for the pain. Couldn't sleep. I had a lot of pain. Was only on it for a few months, and I ended up, those are extremely addictive class of drugs, and I was not aware of that. You can get addicted to those in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So I ended up in Ativan withdrawal. I think that was 2016, and it almost killed me. I actually looked it up later, and there's an extremely high death rate associated with Ativan withdrawal, and one of the reasons is because the suicide rate is incredibly high, which I totally understand, having gone through it. And I didn't know how bad it was, so I did it myself. You know, there was no question of me going into a treatment program. That was out of the question, like between finances and not having support for that. So I almost didn't make it. And that was when I really started praying a lot, even more. Not that I hadn't been, but that was when I found Tina's work, was right around that time, and started doing the course, which got immediately, because I had been a Buddhist practitioner for many years before that. So I understood the course very quickly. Did I say A Course in Miracles? I'm referring to A Course in Miracles when I say the course. And, you know, things just started slowly unfolding then in truly miraculous ways. I would say truly miraculous ways. Things were revealed to me that I needed to know, that were painful about my family, but I needed to know. And then I started connecting with Fran and the channeling group. And then shortly after that, started bringing light codes through for my own healing. You know, my jaw was so bad, I could barely eat. Like, I was on a liquid diet at times for months at a time because I couldn't chew. That was the first code I got, was a jaw code. And then some stuff happened. I was working on getting my house built, and then my guides came through because I just really needed them. I didn't know if I was going to be able to swing the house thing. I didn't know if I was going to have the support I needed from my family members. And some things came to a head, and my guides came through. And then ever since that, it's just been very, very positive progress for me. So having that immediate guidance of that has been invaluable. It's been so important for me. Not that I wasn't getting a ton of intuitive guidance all along, because I was, and I would hear things in my head. Like, I remember, like, around 2015, I kept hearing in my head, "You're a level 1 light being, you're a level 1 light being, and I was like, what is this? You know, like, what the heck? I don't know what that means. But I should ask my guides what that means. But that was, I think, the beginnings. I think I was getting telepathic messages and I didn't know it for quite a long time. So, so that's kind of in a nutshell what happened. And then I set up a Facebook group for my guides, which are called, it's Archangel Uriel and the Lotus Crew. So I set up a Facebook group for them a couple months after I started channeling them. And that's a secret group. And, you know, my family still doesn't know I'm doing this, you know, some people in my local community know now. Just starting to connect with some of those people, and some of those people are coming into the group. And I've always been told from my guides that, you know, you're not intended to reach like a ton of people. Your work is intended to reach a smaller group of people who are really ready for what we have to give them. Mm-hmm. People who are reaching larger audiences have a different role, is what they told me. You know, we all have a different role as light workers. We all have a different role as channelers. Some of us are supposed to support small groups of people. Some of us are supposed to get the message out to a lot of people. And I think that they give, you know, the channel has a mission that suits their personality. So I am a pretty introverted person. So I think my role is smaller. But my guides have always said, they said, if you just reach 5 people, that is important. So don't think just because you're not reaching thousands of people that what you're doing isn't important. Just keep doing it. Even if just 5 people listen, just keep doing it. So we've got about, I don't know, 150 people in the group now or something. I'm not sure, somewhere around there.
Well, that sounds like a fair amount of people to me. Then considering the ripple effect that happens, you know, when one light shines, it shines on others and others and others, and it ripples out. I've always felt very comfortable hearing your guides. I felt very, very familiar, I should say, very familiar with them. And I believe that we're all, you know, they all kind of like mix in and out, and they come in and out. And so your guides are part of my guidance, and, you know, Tina's guidance and Ananda is a part of your guidance and my guidance. And, you know, we're talking about Tina Spalding, who is the Course in Miracles teacher that we all follow, we happen to follow. But I've always felt like, you know, they're around me too. And I like that.
Yeah, I almost see it like a Venn diagram. Like there's all these circles of these groups, and they intersect all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I think together with, so I definitely, yeah, my guides and your guides overlap a lot, I think. My guides have also told me that they are a support team for Ananda. Like for cool. Ananda, I don't think I think only one other person knows that. So I've never really said that, but they told me that. They said, we're here to support a certain group of people who are listening to Ananda. But people also listen to them who don't follow Tina. Mm-hmm. Like there's local people I know and such who don't follow her. So it's really interesting. And sometimes when I'm bringing them through, it's like I hear Abraham, you know, Esther Hicks and Abraham. Yes. I mean, sometimes it's like they told me they overlap with Abraham sometimes for certain. It's almost like there's certain flavors of different aspects of my guides. Since they're a group consciousness, I feel like the aspect of that group consciousness that is best suited to give a certain message will come through for different messages. So sometimes it'll be like the super compassionate, and sometimes it will be more like a little bit more forceful,
Mhm.
And sometimes it will sound like Abraham. It's just like, I'll be like, oh, it's that Abraham one. Like, it's really funny. So that was interesting because in 2013, when I had the complete sort of breakdown in my health and my life, one of the first, I hadn't really listened to channeling before that. And one of the first channelers, the first channeler I was listening to was Esther Hicks and Abraham. And for a couple of years, I really followed her a lot, listened to her a lot. And I remember thinking, I'd really like to do that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could bring through guides like she does. And I even saw myself like channeling Abraham for her. It was really interesting. Like, oh, when she passes on, I saw myself like channeling them in her place. It's really interesting. So it's really, what you aspire to and what you think about really can happen. Because I wasn't really trying to start channeling, but then it just started happening in 2018. And I think part of it was that foundation from 5 years before,
Mhm.
So.
Wow, that's really cool. I think the first two channelers, I was always interested in the Catholic apparitions and things like that. And I had come across a mystic who channeled volumes of Jesus's life, and it was called the Poem of the Man God. And the channeler her name was Maria Valtorta. And I remember researching it, and there were all these weird things about it. Like she would go into tachycardia and she wouldn't eat for days. And she didn't have any education because her mom kept her basically a slave, but she wrote in perfect, grammatically perfect Italian, classical Italian prose. So that was like the first introduction to channeling. I didn't know it was called channeling at that point. But then I think Bashar and Tina were the first two people that I ever encountered. Now you say that the Lotus Crew are angelic. Do you channel any other beings, or you just think that they facet in and out, like they're multifaceted and you get the Abraham facet one time and or do you have any other beings that ever channel through you?
So how my guides do it with me is I can channel anything or anyone I want. I have that capability, but they gatekeep anything or anyone I channel. And mostly I just channel them because I feel like they have so much to offer. I don't feel like I need to go looking around for a lot of other beings to channel.
Yeah.
And complete trust and faith in them because they've literally told me that happened over and over and over. I have a lot of faith in them. I've been told I work with a lot of different intuitive people, and I've been told by all of them that they're extremely high energy, like very high vibration. So I have a lot of confidence in them. When I'm very sensitive, like one of my things was chemical sensitivities. I developed chemical sensitivities when I was 28 years old. Didn't know why. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm an empath. So I have to be very careful because I can pull in any kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to pull in lower energy. So how I do it is if I want to channel someone else, or mostly it's like some other being will want to come through, and my guides will say, okay, so-and-so wants to come through. We're going to gatekeep this. We're going to open the connection. So I connect with them first. They open the connection. The being comes through. Like Cary Grant was one.
Oh.
Lady Di is one that I've never channeled on record, but she comes around a lot. She was actually the one that led me to Tina, interestingly.
Wow.
Because When, Tina did that book, Great Minds Speak to You, and then she put those channelings on YouTube. Well, it was the Lady Di channeling that I found first. So, and she'd been hanging around and talking to me. Like I knew I could, I actually knew that, but I wasn't verbally bringing her through.
But would you consider yourself a medium then?
No. So my channels have told me, my guides have told me, you are not a medium. You are an angelic channel. And they said, you, however, are so sensitive, you can pick anything up. Like I was picking some stuff up about my neighbors and how one of my neighbors had tried to injure one of my other neighbors. And my guides talked to me about it and they said, see, you can pick up things that are none of your business. You have to be really careful because you're not a psychic, but you can pick up psychic stuff. So they said, we don't want you, they said, there's a role for that, but it's not your role. We don't want you focusing there. We want you bringing our messages through. If you pick things up from people, we don't want you sharing any of that with anyone. They, I know different people get different advice about that from their guides. That was what my guides told me to do. Like a friend of mine from high school committed suicide a couple of years ago now. And of course, at the funeral, he's like talking to me, right? And, oh, will you pass this message on to my wife? And so I wrote it down. And my guide said, we don't want you to pass that on. Put it in an envelope, put it in a folder, and if an opportunity presents itself, then we want you to give it to her. But we don't want you getting in touch with this bereaved woman whose husband has just committed suicide and saying, I received this message, here it is. They didn't want me to do that. So I see a little bit of a distinction between people who are psychics and people who are channeling, like at the level I would say Tina's channeling, for example. There's different levels of consciousness, and channeling people who have passed over, like say channeling Cary Grant or channeling Lady Di, that is not quite as high energy as channeling an angelic being, in my experience of it.
Sure.
They have things to offer. And the other thing I've noticed is, like, if you go on YouTube and you Google like channeling Lady Di, for example, you will get all kinds of different people bringing her through in different ways. And there was one I watched once. I kind of stopped looking at stuff like that because there was one I watched once, and this guy was channeling her like very catty, like talking about people. And it was very catty. It was very camp. And I asked my guides about it. I'm like, and then there's other people channeling her, and it's very high level of information. Like she's in kind of a higher realm and she's trying to give us information to help us. And I asked my guides about it, and they said, there's different aspects of people who have passed over, and depending on where you're vibrating and what you want to bring through, you can channel a lower energy version or a higher energy version, a higher vibration version. So be careful. Don't just like listen to every channeling of Lady Di out there, because they're not all going to be at a high level. Mm-hmm. I think like Amanda Ellis's work channeling Lady Di is very good. For example, I listened to that. I would listen to Tina's work channeling her, but I'm very careful. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I'm not technically a psychic as my guides have classified me. I'm a channel.
Very, very interesting. That's very interesting. And yeah, every channel has their own way of channeling, their own method of communication or connection, let's say. Obviously their own mission, their own path. So yeah. No two channelers alike, no two Yeah, we all have our own kind of methods of doing things. Um,
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's interesting because I think maybe 20 years ago in the channeling world, there was like Esther Hicks and there was Cryon. You know, there weren't that many people out there channeling. And I think for a while, people thought it had to look a certain way. Like it had to look like those, I would say, trailblazers were doing it.
mm-hmm.
Thing is tons of people waking up to this. And like you said, there's about as many ways to do it as there are personalities of people. And since we co-create what we're channeling, which is what my guides have always told me, it's a co-creation. Like the information's from them, but they're going to use whatever in our personalities and our experiences that they can to get the message across. So obviously there's going to be different ways that it comes through, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that has always fascinated me, and it always stays in the back of my mind because you have to. It's as if I just took a channeling class actually, and Fran taught me how to channel back in 2018, summer of 2018. I had spontaneously began channeling the light language, and then to channel English, as I put it. I did it with Fran. And so I kind of took another course because I just wanted to see if, because, I always think, if you're a teacher, you always take professional development courses. I'm a channeler. I might as well take another channeling courses and do some sort of professional development. But the analogy was it's as if you're dissolving sugar into water. Like it kind of becomes one thing. Like either the information is the sugar and it mixes with the water and it blends, it comes out in that way. I thought that was very interesting. I used to say it's like you're the filter. The
Yeah.
coffee has to run through the filter and it's going to have the flavor of the filter.
Yeah, I think Abraham would say that you're kind of like a sending and receiving device.
Yeah.
Not to make us seem inhuman, but they literally have said like your brain is a sending and receiving device in ways we are not completely awake to.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're channeling, you wake up more and more and more of that aspect of what your brain can do. And of course, your whole body, it's your energetic field as well. But I always found that interesting, the way they put that.
So can you talk a little bit about your artwork and talk to us about how the Lotus Crew guides you to design your artwork? Because I have a couple of your pieces, that, and many of your friends have your pieces and your chargers, and talk a little bit about all that energetic work that you do.
Sure. So I think that's one of those co-creative things because I'm an artist. My guides use that to bring through light codes, which I draw, which, as I showed you at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Those are healing. They call those healing codes. No medical claims being made. And then here's a water charger. So I paint these, and then they're always circles. I've been painting circles since I was in college. And I think that's just because there's always been a part of this that's been channeled that I didn't realize, So I paint these circles in watercolor, and then I draw light language on them. I don't hear anything. I don't get told what to do when I'm doing it. I just do it because that's how art is. It's another modality. So it's a nonverbal modality. So sometimes they'll tell me, kind of guide me with the colors. kind of get like a hit, like, we'll use that color or use that color, you know. So that's a charger. And I don't know, that's just kind of a constantly evolving thing. So I offer the water chargers, I offer paintings, I offer just the codes. And what had happened with the drawn codes this year was in January, my guide said, maybe it was even December of 2019, my guide said, we want you to offer these 2020 codes in the group to even out the bumps in 2020. And little did I know, right? And so I offered them in January, brought a bunch through for people, and they told us to use them for the first couple months every day, and then use them as needed. Then, of course, the whole stuff hit, the world situation, and they were like, remind people about the codes. So then I had a whole nother round of people that wanted 2020 codes because they needed the support for that's happening. So that's going to be, my guides have already told me we're going to be offering 2021 codes. So in the end of December, you go in the group, you tell everybody, if you want a 2021 code, I'm bringing them through now. I have used my 2020 code almost every day of this year. And I think their words were, we can't take away experiences you need to have for your growth, but we can give you these codes to make navigating that easier and support everyone. So that's what the 2020 codes are. But I've brought codes through for specific symptoms. I've brought codes through to clear gaming stations for people who have like kids that game. I've done artwork to clear card decks for people who use tarot decks, for example. I have a painting in my bathroom that I put all my dental stuff on because I've had a lot of dental stuff, which is, by the way, miraculously improving. And my guides told me to do a painting and, put it under glass, and all my oral hygiene stuff sits on there. So it's like I can bring them through for anything, really. If, he has something they want support with. Let me go grab a painting. I'll go grab a painting to show you. This painting behind it, and that doesn't have any light language drawn on it, though. It's just the portal circles. And this is one layer on it, but this is called Blue Lotus Pond. And this is kind of a standard size I do, the 9x12. And that's kind of what they look like. Beautiful. Tons of different colors. And so you can, because this is in a glass clip frame, you can put this down, you can put your card decks on it, you can put your oral hygiene, whatever. If somebody asks me for a painting for something specific, then I can put the intention in it. Right. When I'm doing it. But sometimes I'll bring a painting through and then I'll find out later, oh, that's a card deck clearer. It's just funny. So that's the artwork.
Well, it's terrific. I've admired you quite a bit, lady, from afar. So I just admire how you you manifested this home of yours, which is really quite a beautiful thing. This small, beautiful little house that you've made for yourself. And I don't know, it's just really, really terrific to meet you, to finally meet you and talk to you. Oh, you froze up.
We are art teachers. You're still an art teacher.
Yeah, you froze
But
up for a little bit. So what did you just say?
yeah, you're frozen. Am I frozen too?
A little bit, yeah.
I think we're both frozen. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're unfrozen. Am I unfrozen? Yeah. We both, you're right. We have so much in common because I was an art teacher for 10 years. You're an art teacher. We're both artists. We both channel. We both have background that is out of this country. You know, we both have other languages in our background, which I also have, which I think, I wonder if that helps with the channeling to have a background. Like my first language was not English. My first language was German and Swiss German. Actually lived in Germany when I was very, very small.
Oh.
Swiss. So I almost wonder if there are pathways, like some of us had that experience of being multilingual at a young age to keep some neuroplasticity.
Yep.
So they could do this work easier later. I sort of wonder about that.
Yeah, I thought so too. And if you just think about, I think it also speaks to life purpose. Like if our life purpose is to speak in whatever capacity languages, right? Lo and behold, now you channel. Do you channel light language, or you just do the light codes?
Just the light codes. Yeah, I don't channel light language. That's something that I just don't for some reason. Mm-hmm. You do so beautifully. I could not do it like you do it.
It just comes. I don't even, for a while I was like, gosh, I wish I could channel like Christina does, or I wish I could channel like Tina. And then I'm like, you know what? You channel the light language. So let it go, let it flow. And, so yeah. It's the ego.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions everything.
I think that is very powerful, channeling light language verbally. But there's probably a million ways to do it. You can draw it, you could sing it, which you kind of do. Mm-hmm. There's probably other ways that we haven't tapped into.
And signing it too. Some people do beautiful, beautiful signing.
Right.
Just mesmerizing.
Different mudras and yeah.
Yes. Gorgeous. Well, this format is, I call it Life in the Metaphysical, as opposed to what I had done earlier in the year, which was Get Up and Go. And I think it applies very well to you and I, because we live a metaphysical life. We live a life that is outside, beyond, through, around the physical, the third dimensional. We live in other dimensions, floating in and out all the time. So I know you live a rather solitary existence, but you do have neighbors and friends, I suppose, right? And your family. Well, how does your family, what do they kind of know about what you do with the spiritual?
About it consciously, but I think there's entrainment. So my 82-year-old mom lives next door to me. I see her every day. I've been through a lot with her, for better, for worse. And she'll say to me, I ask the angels for help with this. Like I'll talk to her about, I gave her like the angel numbers book at one point a few years ago. She really liked that. And she'll find like when this whole thing hit and there wasn't a lot of stuff in the grocery stores, she could like find like the one thing I wanted. she'd find it like on a shelf, like behind something. And we were joking. I said, it's like the angels like hid that so that you could find it. And like we joke about it, you know? So I haven't told her or anyone in my family or most of my friends that I channel, but I think they're in training with me in some ways. Like I've told some friends, but sometimes I'll be talking to a friend and I'll say something and it's like it wasn't me. Like it was too wise for something I would say. I wouldn't ask me for advice, but it's like my guides were talking to them, but we didn't sit down and channel for them. You know, the other day I was talking to a friend and we were talking about TV, not watching TV as much, and the news and movies and how movies are, I was telling her, I find a lot of movies extremely difficult to watch. Like people were recommending this movie called The Peanut Butter Falcon on Facebook. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I watched it and I was like, wow, I can see why people thought it was good, but that was really violent. Like for me, it was a really violent movie. For I think most people, it wouldn't have seemed that way, but to me it did. So we were talking about that and I said to her, you have to protect your precious humanity. You have to be really careful what you put in your mind. And she said, there's like this pause and she says, I'm writing down what you just said. She said, because those words were so good. And I'm thinking, those can't have been my words.
That's
I am still not comfortable telling a lot of people I know that I'm channeling, but I've told a lot of people, I've told a lot of people I work with, and who have helped me, intuitives I work with who've helped me when I was sick and are still helping me. They all know, and some of my friends know, but I'm not putting it all over Facebook. I don't have a YouTube channel. I just don't want people going up in the grocery store and saying to my mom, did you know that Christina's like says she's channeling angel? Like it would just confuse her. And I'm just not ready for that. So, but I don't think it matters that much in some ways, because I think the life we live is an example. So my mom look at me and she can see I'm getting better and better and better. And I don't think she knows why. But when you see someone you care about getting better, who's had a really hard time, you don't care why they're getting better. You're just glad they're getting better, right?
Yeah.
So.
I agree 100%. So Christina, it would be such an honor if you would bring through the Lotus Crew to give a message to everybody, or to me, or to everyone and me.
To me.
Or you.
It's always for me, no matter who I'm channeling for. It's funny. All right, let's see. I do these, I just do a Shen hold when I start to just get myself open. Hang on, I gotta ring the bell. Yeah. Just how I do it, like I summon them by ringing the bell. Okay. We are the Lotus Crew. We are your angelic guides. And it is a great pleasure for us to be here with you today and to share some words with you. some thoughts about all of the things that you're all going through during this time. We imagine and we know that people who are going to be seeing this are experiencing many, many challenges and many stretches in their lives at this time because of outward circumstances that are happening on your planet. And one of the main things we want you to know at this time is that this is all for your growth. This really is all for your growth. This is all an opportunity. And when you have circumstances in your life that seem to be ripping things apart, pulling things apart, breaking apart the old life that you were used to, that is always a very, very positive thing. It really is. Now, you take it kicking and screaming, as our channel was saying earlier. She took that kicking and screaming when that happened in her life. But that's just because the ego doesn't like change. Now, sometimes you need that change. Sometimes you just need that change. And it's not going to come by you having the same old, same old, same old every day in your life. You know, going to the same job, having the same amount of money in your bank account, seeing the same people, all of that, which is kind of the ruts, you see, that so many of you were in. Now, what this whole world situation has done is it's really pulled the rug out from under a lot of people. And that has frightened a lot of people because that is change and the ego doesn't like that. But it's such an opportunity. It's such an opportunity, isn't it, to see life differently, to try a different work style, to interact with the world in a different way, to have time for contemplation and for yourself. So many of you are experiencing what you would call the unintended positives of the restrictions and changes that have been going on. You see, we've always said you can subvert anything that happens in your life for the positive. You really can, because everything is a growth opportunity that you experience. So our channel went through all kinds of change that was difficult and painful. But when she looks at it now, she can see that her egoic life that she was going to cling to until the day she died. She was sure she was going to be living in her old house until the day she died. She left that house kicking and screaming. We had to, the universe had to create a very challenging situation in that house to get her out of that house. But now she's where she's supposed to be, in this new house. And this was the only way that the universe was going to get her here. And it's so like that for so many of you at this time. So when you're going through these changes, job changes that might be happening, financial changes that might be happening, where you're living might be affected by everything that's going on. So many things can be affected. We want you to remind yourself that all of these changes are opportunities. You know, that Taoist Quan, isn't there a, we're giving our channel the I Ching. In the I Ching, change equals opportunity. Well, that's exactly what you're all experiencing now on a collective scale. On a collective scale. So it's happening collectively, it's happening individually. Remember this when you have a day and you say, I don't know if I can deal with this. Well, remember that you're being pushed to experience life in a different way. It may mean I can't go back to this old job. It may mean I'm going to adapt to doing my job in a different way. But it's all for your growth. Anything that can split apart that hard shell of the ego is positive, even when it doesn't look that way. So that's really the main thing we want to tell people in this format here, being given this opportunity. as we would say to our channel when she first started channeling us and she was struggling so much, we would say, fear not, fear not. For everything is supporting you in the changes that you're making. And we say this to everyone who's listening now, fear not. For these changes are not beyond harnessing for their positive potential. So we'll leave it at that. And Anne-Marie, we want to say thank you very much for the work you're doing here, for what you're putting out on YouTube, for what you're channeling, for the light language, for bringing together the community of people that you've been bringing together in these video formats. We want you to know it's benefited people more than you can imagine to have this. So we want you to know that, because we can look and we can read the energy here and we see these energy tendrils that have gone out from this work that you're doing. And this is a prime example of what we're saying. You harnessed the opportunity to use the technology in this way when the shutdown happened, and it has had a positive impact. It has uplifted people and it has helped people wake up. So we want you to know that. That one's for you. It has been a great pleasure, and we will speak with you all soon. We are the Lotus Crew. We are your angelic guides. I just always dedicate the merit after I bring through a transmission. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience. May it liberate the ego from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings.
Oh, that was so beautiful. How lovely. And you're a channel with your eyes open as well, which we could never see before. So that's fantastic.
Maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but sometimes I even walk around and close the curtains and stuff while I'm channeling.
Oh.
I can like walk around and, I mean, I don't do it the whole time I'm channeling, but like, I want to go get a drink and I'm channeling, I'll go get a drink of water and I'll just...
Well, if I can drive to work, you can get a drink of water.
See, there's ways to do it.
That was awesome. Namaste, my friend. Namaste. It has been really, really a beautiful time. Beautiful time getting to know you, Christina. I can't wait till we meet each other in person. We're a few hours away, 4 or 5 hours away from each other, but God willing, one of these days we'll be able to meet up and be in each other's presence and explode, make a little explosion of light on the planet with us two getting together, as we did now, as we did right now. Absolutely. If people wanted to see your artwork, where could they see your artwork?
So I have an Etsy shop, which has been super busy lately. That is Fernhouse Studio. Everything's Fernhouse Studio. I'm on Instagram as Fernhouse Studio. Fern like the plant, house like a house you live in, studio singular. I'm on Facebook as Fernhouse Studio. I have a business Facebook page. That's the easiest way to find me. And, you know, people can always message me on my Facebook page if they want to join the Lotus Crew Facebook group. But it's a secret group, so they have to friend me for me to put them in. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way to find me.
Well, I'm sure I'm not alone, that there are going to be people watching going, oh my God, Christina, we get to see her in person. We get to see her face. It was really quite a pleasure. Thank you for spending time with me. Thanks for, we finally got ourselves together. And it's just been really, really great to meet you.
Yes, likewise. Very much so.
All right. Take care, everyone. Like, subscribe, and share. Anne-Marie, The Art of Healing. Take care.